Hello, everyone. My name is Kerri Wise. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Audify, and so happy to be here for this live recording of a very important topic on the must-haves in terms of finance solutions for digital retailing. And I'm joined with my coworkers from Audify, have Ben Atkinson. He's our VP of Lender, and we're going to hear more about Ben and his background. And I also have Leggett. He's our Senior Director of Sales at Audify. Hey, guys, welcome to our live broadcast. How are you doing?
Good, Kerri.
Doing well, thank you. Thank you for inviting us.
Good. I love having these conversations. Really important for us to share the learnings that we have at Audify, the learnings from our careers with our community of clients and dealers out there. Speaking of careers, Ben, why don't you give us a little background on your career, particularly on the lender side?
Sure. Thank you, Kerri. Yes. So been with Audify 6 years. Prior to that, more than 20 on the lending side. So I kind of grew up at Ford Motor Credit. Roughly a decade there, transition over to Chase Auto Finance, again, about 10 years there. And then immediately before joining Audify, ran the auto business at a large Spanish bank called BBVA. And then since the time at Audify, really been manage anything kind of lending and lender related at Audify.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's so important. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. That we even have a position, right? A VP of Lender, because it's so important, to our DNA at Audify. So glad to have you, Derek. I know you're out there working with the dealers directly in the sales department. Give me a little background on your career.
I am, yeah. So I've been doing this car game for what they call 20 years now. So my whole adult life, I worked for Penske Automotive for 10 years, and then I worked for a national lender as a director for 10 years after that. And then I found myself here. I've been here for 4 years, not quite as long as Ben. Ben's got me beat, but I still feel like a dinosaur here as well, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Good. Well, it's so good to have you. And I think what we wanted to do in this conversation on the must-have finance solutions for digital retailing, we needed both of your perspectives, because there's obviously the dealer side. Derek, you're very steeped in that, but we have to marry that with lender and lending and financing as well. So both are really important. When you think about the automotive industry, there's still a lot of inefficiencies in terms of the back and forth and the negotiation when it comes to financing. And at the end of the day, the promise of digital retailing and being this kind of end-to-end solution for dealers, the ability to transact, that promise has yet to be realized in most platforms because of financing. Financing, you can't transact without financing. And so what we wanted to do today is share some of the learnings that we have at Audify. F&I is in the title of our company. And so we've learned a lot on how do you enable finance solutions that remove some of those inefficiencies, make more profit for the dealers, but all under their control and configuration. And I want to talk about that. So let's jump right in, guys, on these 5 must-haves. And the first one, I want to reference, there was an article that we'll share with you later on our blog that covered some of the same things. But Derek, let's start with the first one, which is, configuration and control. And I think actually, Ben, you're gonna start us out on this configuration and control. Dealers are really worried when it comes to enabling customers to shop online, or even empowering their salespeople to talk numbers in the store, because they're fearful that they're going to lack control. Why is this so important to give them back some level of control in the platform?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the way that we've thought about this at Audify is essentially we need to make sure everything is as configurable as possible to replicate exactly how the dealer wants to do business today, right? So we've built a platform that's primarily focused on adoption, right? So with adoption, we need to make sure that everything's accounted for, that he or she within the dealer cares about. So we think about this at the highest level, where we've got a dealer success manager for every single one of our dealers, and they can work through all of these settings to configure it exactly the way that the dealer wants to operate. In principle, we should be thinking about it's your lenders, your markup, your F&I products, your pricing, right? Every single thing within this menu is set and established exactly the way the dealer wants it to be set to replicate kind of how they operate their business within the dealership today. So, I mean, that at a high level is kind of how we think about it at AutoFi. And the goal there is to really retain the control for the dealer when presenting these firm offers of credit directly to their consumers online, that we've taken care of the things that the dealer really cares about, right? These profit centers within the dealership that are critical, right? And we think that you don't have to pick anymore, right? You don't have to pick between a great customer experience and profitability. If we set you up the right way based on you telling us exactly how you want to do business, we're pretty confident that we can, accomplish both of those objectives.
I love it. I love it. It could be a win-win for the customer, but also for the dealer. Derek, what would you add to that?
Yeah, I think Ben nailed it. I mean, there's so many ways to sell a car these days. There's a lot of successful ways. And we're not here to tell you how to do business, right? We want to help you do business. And that's the reality of what we do. We've created a platform that's going to fit your mold. We're just going to help enhance it, and being able to customize things like pricing and lenders, like Ben had mentioned, and rate markups and so on and so forth, input whatever customization you want. It allows us to cater directly to what that customer's needs are, AKA the dealerships, right? And then AKA to the dealership, to the consumer. And so when we can customize that journey and that process, everything's beautiful, everything works seamlessly, and everyone's happy. And we create a platform that really focuses on that.
Absolutely. All right. So we got dealer configuration and control. Let's go to number 2, which is accuracy. You might have a platform in place. You're enabling your shoppers to shop. You're enabling your salespeople, let's say, to use it in the showroom, and the payment's not correct. It doesn't match the reality of what you would do outside of that platform. Let's start with you, Derek. Why is accuracy so important in your digital retailing platform?
It's everything, right? I mean, we talk about transparency, customer experience, all this above. I mean, there's nothing worse than thinking a payment that I spent 20 minutes sitting in my lazy boy at home, calculating it to exactly perfect where I needed to fit my family's wants and needs to $622 a month. I schedule that appointment. I get into the store and it's $852, right? At that point, I'm not worried about selling a car. I got to rebuild trust again, right? And a lot of times it's not the platform's fault. They just don't know how to calculate it. They don't have those direct connections like we do with those subvention rates and those rebates and FICO bands based off different lenders. That allows us to get really accurate, to really, really get that accuracy down to a fine-tooth comb. In between taxes. Taxes are a big one. Every state's different. Heck, even zip codes are different. And we really focus on making it a really seamless, quick process for the consumer, but also to add to that, it's got to be good for the dealer. The dealer wants to transact faster. So if we're accurate, they don't have to put up with those heartaches of they're not even close, right? And so we've put a lot of legwork into what makes the sausage, if you will, to get that accurate, that comfort level, and to really, really, really streamline that process for both the consumer and the dealership.
Ben, what would you add?
Yeah, I think, Derek nailed a lot of it. Maybe we can get into the weeds of what we actually do with our lending partners, right? So I think that at a high level, we're taking all the inputs, right, that the consumer provides. And on behalf of that dealer, we're remitting the application exactly the same way the dealer would do within the dealership, right? So we're submitting that application. The biggest difference we're doing it is 100% of that is automated, right? So 24/7, AutoFi is taking that information and directing it to the lenders. On the lending side, we're hitting their same decision engine, their same pricing strategies, exactly the same way that if a dealer was to submit it, we're getting that response directly back from a lender. And then AutoFi's job is to present that into a consumer-facing offer. One good example there is, right, we talked about settings and configurations. If a dealer says, hey, I want a rate marked up 100 basis points or 1%, that's part of this process that we're doing. We're taking a buy rate, converting that, into a consumer-facing APR, right? That is 100% accurate. It's coming directly from that lender response. So that we're doing at scale, right? This system is 7 years old. It's stress tested. We're running hundreds of thousands of decisions through this a month. And if you're a dealer, the thing that you want to be knowing is, can I submit this funding package? Can I get it cashed? Am I going to be incurring any operational overheads because the information's not right? And the answer is no, right? We have, powering some of the experiences for some of the biggest retailers out there. We've done it for a long time. These are credit decisions that you can e-contract on. You can send in for funding. They're firm offers of credit. And, we feel really, really good around the work that we've done and invested to make sure that it's compliant, it's accurate, and it's scalable.
So important, so important. And I think this is one of those areas where there's a lot of overused terms that confuse dealers, right? Everyone's like, we're penny perfect payments, right? And you hear that. But I love what the details that you guys were getting into, because the devil's in the details. Let's talk about the next one, the third area, which is bank relationships. Your finance solutions, your digital retail platforms, if they don't have bank relationships, it's going to be more challenging to truly automate the finance process. Let's start with you, Ben. You have all this background in lender. Why is it important that we have these bank relationships, and what is that about?
Yes, I mean, the approach at AutoFi, what kind of the process that we followed was we wanted to align with some of the largest financial institutions in the industry, right? So at our core, we're a financial technology company, right? We've done some of the work that has allowed us to establish these relationships with our lending partners, like being SOC 2 Type 2 compliant, right? So we've really, really invested heavily in this side of our business. When we think about our relationships, we've been at this 7 years. These are long-standing, contractual agreements. At this point, we have kind of 8 of the top 10 non-captive lenders, and relationships with essentially all of the captive lenders out there. So we had to go through some really, really deep work with a lot of these non-captive partners to ensure that we could operate in compliance with their expectations, right? Using their logos, using their branding, et cetera. So we did a lot of work partnering with these lenders to ensure that the consumer experience was great, right? The level of fidelity around how we were presenting offers met their requirements. So, this is the way we've kind of thought about it at AutoFi. It's definitely a long-term strategy. We believe that, consumers will want to transact either online or in store, but we've built this kind of lending network that ensures a couple of things. When we built it out, we were really thoughtful around ensuring that we had kind of nationwide geographic coverage, full credit spectrum coverage, high levels of automation. And I think one thing that's really important is through the cycle performance that the lenders had demonstrated that they were willing to originate, indirect auto loans kind of in good times and in bad times. So we feel like for the benefit of our dealers and the dealers' customers, we've got a great lender network that is, really performant and can allow us to support a really big business and really be beneficial for all of our dealer partners and their consumers.
And Derek, how do you talk to dealers about our bank relationships?
Well, I think data says that 82% of car buyers are comfortable with familiarity of a bank. Mm-hmm. And we've done a really good job of putting the banks that the consumer knows. Not only that the consumer knows, but the dealership works with. So it's not easy. It's Ben and his team, unbelievable job, right? But it's nice to be able to see an approval right from my website 24 hours a day from someone I trust, someone that I know is going to be there for me, and someone that I work with already. So I think that's where it's key, is that who we've aligned ourselves with and partnered with. It really gives that accuracy up to the next level, but it also allows us to have that recognition that the dealership needs that, hey, we're here for you and we're here to help, and this is real.
It's so important. For years, I've been talking about the trust gap between dealers and customers, right? And dealers trying to overcome that. And when you think about it, an offer that comes from the dealer versus an offer that's just coming directly from these banks, customers having multiple banks and choices, as you said, and the familiarity with those banks kind of helps dealers overcome that, makes the customer much more familiar or comfortable moving forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay, let's jump to the number 4. I should have numbered these like David Letterman. Optimized credit application. Derek, let's talk about that. All credit apps aren't created equal. What do they need to be looking for?
Huge, right? I mean, I think we know that consumers are really intimidated by credit applications, to the point where we call them customer surveys now in a lot of dealerships. I'm sure you've heard that term, right? They're super intimidating, long, laborious, beat you down. We know that, and we've changed that. What we've done is we have a really, really, really effective credit app, if you will, that takes a credit app and chops it down into bite-sized pieces, right? It's not all one big form where the consumer's like, oh, I'll do this later, right? So we ask them a few questions at a time, moving the customer down the funnel, right? It kind of eases the customer's tension and it walks them through further. We've also rearranged it, right? We're not hitting them with maybe a social security right out the gate, right? Hi, Kerri, nice to meet you. What's your social, right? We move that maybe to the very, very end to where we can actually kind of soften the scenario and ask some of the softball questions, if you will, to get them to an end point. We also know things like income, right? We know there's a 50-50 shot of maybe a consumer getting the correct income. And it's not their fault. It's just, it's not how they calculate their income, right? They don't know the difference between net and gross and how to calculate overtime. You know, a lot of consumers are like, hey, I get paid bi-weekly. I get about $2,500 every 2 weeks. I make $5,000 a month. That's not the language we speak in the dealership. We speak gross. We want that before taxes and all the above. So we've really put a really, really simple tool like a credit app and really broke it apart, exploded the thing to where customers at ease. And now we take a credit app and we put an income calculator in it. What? Now the customer doesn't have to guess. There's things like, how are you paid at Walmart or whatever? Input in job there. Hourly, weekly. Oh, I'm hourly. I make this much an hour. They're doing the same things that we're doing at the dealership level. We're using the same calculator and calculating methods as we are at the dealership level. Same I did behind the desk. And we're making it really easy for the consumer to use. And then we take that super simple form there that's completely compliant. And then we're able to push that into your dealer track. We're able to push that into your Route 1. Really getting the dealership what they need to expedite the process, but really getting that customer a hand to help them, right? It's not that long beat down, if you will. It's, hey, I feel like I'm on Facebook doing a questionnaire. So we put a lot of thought in that credit app to make it really, really, really convenient for the consumer, but really effective and beneficial for the dealership.
Well, and it's not a surprise when you look at us relative to our competition, we tend to drive more credit apps than your typical platform that's about just really kind of collecting a lead and not moving the customer down the purchase funnel. I think, Ben, from your point of view, from a lender standpoint, you got to get this credit app right? So what would you add?
Yeah, you're right. This is the basis for the credit decision.
Yeah.
Right. So I think some of the things that we've done over the last years have been, we talk about not all kind of applicants being created equally. Same thing with the lender, right? We've done the work to figure out, are there any inputs that are specific to a lender, right? We see lenders that require an address for an employee, like an education level, right? If what we've done within our experience, right, is we've tailored that credit application based on the actual brand and the captive. So it's a conditional question, right? If captive A doesn't require it, don't ask that question, right? If captive B does, ask the question, right? So on the backside of the thing, kind of the data that we look at is we track what's a success rate in submission completion, right? And now we kind of operate at 3 nines, right? So 2 nines, excuse me. So at 99% successful submission completion, right? So less than 1% of our applications don't actually result in a credit decision. Doesn't mean they're all approved, right? But it means that over the years, we've figured out exactly with our partners, what are those specific inputs and what are the requirements? And we've kind of tracked this at a brand level, lender level. And then we apply the work to figure out kind of any operational adjustments that are required at a lender level. But at a holistic kind of platform level, we do a great job with this while kind of minimizing the friction for the consumer, helping them go all the way through the funnel, and then making sure we're kind of delivering the mail right to the lender that is requires that specific information.
Very strong. I think it's so critical and kind of something that's overlooked, right? I mean, like you said, Derek, most dealerships, we're using that kind of same credit app that tends to not only not work for the dealer, but the customer tends to be turned off from it. So very important. Let's get to the 5th must-have solution. And this is something kind of very unique to AutoFi, but that every dealer needs to ask their platform about smart lender routing. And I think we're gonna jump to Ben. Ben, help us dumb this down for us. What do we mean at Audify when we talk about smart lender routing, and why is it important?
Yeah. So the kind of the easiest way to think about it is not every single lender wants to compete for the same customer, right? So what we've done is a couple of different things, right? At a lender level, when we onboard these partners, we work directly with them to say, hey, walk us through your lending strategy, your credit strategy, your program guidelines. What do you want to compete for and what do you not want to compete for? So when we think about the value that we're delivering to everybody in this experience, right? Meaning a customer, a dealer, and a lender, it starts with this kind of setup, right? So an example would be if you had an applicant with marginal credit score, we wouldn't direct that opportunity to a lender that had declared, all I compete for is super prime applicants. So we've kind of created these high-level lender rules where we can look at essentially any different attribute about the customer, the vehicle, or the deal structure, right? So we can build out this kind of model that says, okay, if an applicant in a car deal meets this criteria and the dealer does business with them, submit it to lender A, B, and C, right? So at the highest level, we think about routing of the opportunity with the goal of maximizing the probability of success, right? Our job is really on behalf of a dealer is to figure out how can we present an online offer directly to a consumer that is going to result in success. And we think about successes, right? Did we help them purchase a vehicle, right? Did we help them go all the way through that purchase journey? So again, when we think about smart lender routing, it's essentially just replicating what a lender wants to compete for and doing it in a kind of a programmatic manner. So Derek, I know from your perspective, right, being in a dealership and knowing how dealers manage relationships with lenders and your background, I mean, maybe you kind of talk about, kind of some of the value from your perspective.
Yeah, it's huge, right? I think every dealership has a lender strategy, right? Every one of them have a lender strategy and they don't want to give that away. And what we do is we allow them to retain it and control it, right? It's also a compliance thing. I mean, if it's the same process, hey, it's going to this bank, if it's in this FICO band, this bank, this FICO band, this FICO, if you're giving us the rules of engagement, man, there's no more customization than that. There's no more control that a dealer can have than that. There's nobody offering this, and it's unbelievable. We've always, in my lender world and Ben's lender world, we've always heard the word look the book. Look the book, look the book, look the book, look the book. It's always a bad thing, right? Or a good thing, but in theory, the reason when we're talking about look the book, it's usually when a rep comes in and we're trying to get it to a better percentage of look the book. This allows them to do that, right? That we're sending you right customer to the right bank based on their criteria. And when we're able to do that, we are replicating exactly what the dealership wants to do in an automated fashion. And it saves them time. It saves them time. Saving time is going to help them make more money. But holistically, it fits their mold. We are fitting their mold. And that's what I think is key about what we do with this smart lender routing is that they know what they want to accomplish and which banks they want to utilize the most. And we're going to make sure that we do that for them. We're not just shotgunning, right? That's a bad word in the industry. We're not doing that. We have a strategy. We're routing them to the directions that they want to go to, helping them with their look the book, helping them with their lender strategy, helping them get those customers to the right banks, helping those lenders, right? Also see what they're trying to accomplish as well. It helps everybody when you put a little technology behind it. And that's been a lot of hard work. I think Ben had like long blonde hair before all this started. But man, they've crushed it. Him and his team, we knew it was a challenge, and it's huge. It's been a game changer for us for sure.
Yeah, I think a couple things. I mean, in some ways, we're like a matchmaker. You have the customer, and we understand their profile and their credit profile. We understand what the banks are willing to do, and we're going to match the customer up with the right banks. By the way, with the dealer,
sounds easy, doesn't it? Sounds easy, doesn't it?
Easy, right? Why didn't I think of it? But and with the dealer overseeing all of this and applying what they want as well, right? Yes. Their criteria as well. I think if you think about it, AutoFi is very unique relative to our competition in that way, is that in bringing together the customer's needs, the lender needs, and the dealer needs so that the outcome is ultimately a transaction.
I think that's right. Can I add one other thing?
Yeah.
Because I can really nerd out on this stuff. I think the last thing we touched on is really where there's a tremendous amount of opportunity for innovation, right? Because we're on a journey, right? And I heard kind of, another company that's on the same journey, right, talking about how they're thinking about phases, and it was really insightful, right? And I think the path that AutoFi has taken is clearly to invest around this kind of financial technology side of things around the lending piece. But I think what we described here in the routing is the platform is as flexible and as configurable as a dealer wants it to be, right? And I think, Derek, you talked about something earlier where, with this routing over time, when people become more comfortable and we can kind of go further into the showroom and dealer experience with our partners, is whatever they want to optimize for and whatever they do in a kind of an offline manner today with somebody within the dealership, we can replicate that, right? So we think about a use case as far as a floor plan lender, right? If a floor plan lender wants to get first right of refusal on certain opportunities, we can satisfy that. Second one would be on a subvented rate, right? We can identify the presence of a subvented offer when the consumer starts a journey. Doesn't make a lot of sense potentially of submitting a 1.9 APR to a network of non-captive lenders where, if that customer gets approved at a 1.9, if the dealer says that's what they want to present, that's got the highest probability. It's hard to beat 1.9% today, right? We can create rules where if that's not approved, it's submitted. If it's not automatically approved, it's a conditional offer, right? We can refer to a next set of lenders, so to speak. So we've got this really kind of sophisticated way of moving kind of the different steps that replicate how he or she in the dealership runs their business today. We can do that, right? And I think over time, as kind of everything kind of evolves, these are some of the things that I think are going to be really valuable to everybody that's involved in kind of the car deal overall.
And you talked about, the algorithm behind it, all the work that goes into selecting these dealers. These lenders. The customer chooses their lender. And then Derek, I think you touched on, that's a funded deal that we're sending directly into DealerTrack or Route One. Can you touch on that piece a little bit more?
Yeah, Ben, but I think you nailed it. This is real. This is real.
Yeah.
This isn't make-believe. This isn't pre-approval. This isn't the estimates. We're connecting with your ecosystem as this customer goes through the journey, submits the application. We're doing our workflow. We're the LTVs, PTI, all this stuff. It's not just send it everywhere and see what we get. Let's see if we can throw it against the wall. We have a lot of intelligence behind it. And once it lands, it lands. And when I mean it lands, you've got green upward facing arrows in Route One, if you know what I'm talking about, where now we get the customer in, we test drive the vehicle, we high five, and we're contracting the customer, right? That goes back to that accuracy. That goes back to, hey, I saw 662. Well, if you saw 62 on an AutoFi dealer's website, you're going to be able to contract that. It's not going to be 879, right? Because we have those built-in integrations, that built-in relationships to make it accurate, to make it seamless, and to put a smile on people's face.
Absolutely. And I think, just to kind of wrap this up, we talked about the 5 must-haves, but a lot of times back to profitability, there's this fear that by automating all of this is going to hurt me in terms of profitability. I'm giving up control. Derek, how do you address the profitability questions you might get from dealers?
Yeah, we're getting them off price and on the payment, just like we've been trained in the car dealership for years and years and years. If I can land the customer on the right vehicle, if I can get the customer to configure that deal the way that it needs to be to get to the payment that they want, and I can get an approval from one of our banks that their names of, I'm not stopping. You're not going to stop me. I'm going to keep going until that dealership tells me to stop, and that's usually when I'm in the finance office. And so time kills deals. stickers quicker. We know all these acronyms we've learned in the auto industry forever. Auto-Fi allows you to do that. Auto-Fi allows the customer to go through the journey the right way, in a fast way, and continue to have that personal relationship, right? We still feel hands on the wheel seals the deals. Customers still want to come in and eat your popcorn and drink your coffee. They still want to do that stuff. They still want to spend 4 hours doing it. And all this technology and all this innovation that we've done allows that customer to come into the store and do the things that they want to do. And it allows the dealership to do the things that customers want to do as well, right? And now they get to have fun and enjoy buying a car again. And usually every dealership will tell you the happy customers are the ones you make the most money off of. These customers are happy.
I don't think we could end any other way, right? I think you summarized that so well in terms of the benefit, not only to the customer, but obviously to the dealer's process, to their bottom line. Thank you both for all the insights here. I think, our goal here was not just about selling Auto-Fi. We really want to arm dealers out there with these insights, with our learning, so that they can really evaluate the platforms they are on, ask the platforms they're on if they're offering these must-haves. There is an article I just want to point out. Go to autofi.com/blog, and you'll see this article on these must-have finance solutions that every dealer should look at within their digital retail platform. And as always, if you want more information about Auto-Fi, we'd love to demo our experience. We referenced some key finance solutions, but we'd love to walk you through it from beginning to end. You can go and set up a demo request with us at autofi.com/demo-request. And we love to set you up with Derek and others on the sales team to walk you through our solution. Any final words before we leave, guys, on this topic?
What a ride, Ben. What a ride.
It's been fun.
It's been fun, and it's getting funner every day. Is funner a word? I think so.
It's not a word, but that's okay. You're in
more
sales.
Fun.
You
it's
get away
more
with
fun
that.
Every day. There we go.
No, this was good. Kerri, thanks for letting the lender guy come out.
Well, you know what? I thought you and Derek would be an interesting, is it dichotomy? Is that the word?
It's always good hanging out with
each
Derek.
other out.
Spell it. I dare you.
I'm a marketer. I don't have to have spellings.
I haven't straightened my beard for this today, Kerri.
Oh, so good. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Please reach out to us if you're interested in what Auto-Fi can do to help you expedite and automate not only the finance process, but the sales process overall. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.
See ya. Thanks, Kerri. Thanks, Derek.